Good evening and welcome to this edition of BTV Sports Reel. I'm Nicolas Roca.
And I'm Alejandro Guerrero.
Let's get to that action of this past weekend when Belen faced Columbus in the annual football game. Belen started off pretty strong in this game, but Columbus started off with a touchdown, actually. A pass from Tucker to Columbus wide receiver. Touchdown there. They started off 7-0 up on the Wolverines. But later in that first half, the Wolverines came back and were able to answer with their own touchdown. Here, Danny Hernandez back in the set, lobs it up to Frank Battle, which had a mismatch in the end zone. Touchdown. Wolverines tie the game at 7-7. It was a 7-6. Columbus now later in the first half. A nice screen pass to the wide receiver. Touchdown for Columbus. Columbus was up for most of the game, 12-7, and the Wolverines looked like they were going to be able to come back and get the lead, but Columbus late in the game, in the fourth quarter, was able to score to extend that lead to a 20-7 lead, and then finally 27-7 was the victory margin of Columbus over Belen. Tough way for Belen to go off. They were within 5 points basically the entire game. Tough way for them to go down. What happened in that second half that they fell apart?
Yeah, Belen was in this game the whole time. You know, the Columbus kicker missed a couple of field goals that kept them around, but on the offensive side of the ball, they couldn't get anything going. They couldn't get any passes going, and then that run up the middle, Columbus knew it was coming every time and were able to stop it. On the defensive end, they played really well, but you know, they were plagued by injuries on that side. They lost Danny Portuondo early. E.J. Santos went out in in mid-second quarter, and they had some big losses there. Some guys started to cramp up, and you know, I think Columbus just took advantage of that, and they had that big offensive line that created some holes for the running back, and I think that's why they pulled away late in the fourth quarter. You know, that was a really impressive game, but another impressive game that happened this weekend, the Dolphins took on the New England Patriots, and the Miami Dolphins looked to open up their season with a big win at home. To start off the game, they forced New England on a 3-and-out, and on the punt, they blocked it and recovered it inside of the New England 15-yard line. What a way to start off the season for the Dolphins. And then that same drive, Tannehill rolls out and hits Lamar Miller in the flat, able to dive into the end zone. And the Dolphins start off up 7-0. You know, after that, the Patriots came back and scored a touchdown of their own to tie it up. And here, Tannehill coming back, hits Mike Wallace. The pass was a little behind him, but Mike Wallace should have held on to that, and then Gerard Mayo comes up with the fumble there. Good defensive awareness by him. They ended up scoring there now 23-20, and Noshawn Moreno running through the New England defense and scoring a touchdown. He really had a strong running game there in the second half that really lifted the spirits for these Dolphins and got them a couple of scores and got everyone else into that game. There you just see him run over the safety and able to put it in for a touchdown. They called him down right there, but the ball's in the end zone. It's not a fumble. They called it a touchdown. And then here you have Caleb Sturgis puts in a field goal, extends the lead, 30-20. We're up 10 now. Then Tom Brady comes back. Cameron Wake applying the pressure. That was one of his 2 forced fumbles of the day. Dolphins able to recover there, up 10, 3 minutes left in the fourth. Really looked like New England wasn't going to come back, and they didn't. The Dolphins really played well. What do you think calls the Dolphins the most to win this game?
Well, Noshawn Moreno for sure. He had a great game, great running game. He put in that touchdown at the end of the game to really secure that victory with 3 minutes left in the game. He had a great game offensively. Defensively, it was Cameron Wake, especially at that late game forced fumble on Tom Brady. That really propelled the Dolphins and secured the win against New England Patriots, which is a tough team, a tough team to start off the season at home, and they were able to overcome that. And sure enough, we should see a great season with these Dolphins if they keep playing how they've been playing, especially on the defensive side. Yeah, it was a great game from the Dolphins. They beat the team that is chosen to win their division, and they beat them at home the season opener. Looks like some big things are going to happen for the Dolphins this year. Now to college football, the Ohio State Buckeyes, ranked number 8, took on the unranked Virginia Tech team. LeBron was there to watch the game, and here you see Virginia Tech, the handoff to Marshawn Williams, breaks a tackle and gets into the end zone, gives Virginia Tech the lead 14-7.
Then here, Michael Brewer comes back, throws a pass to the flat to his receiver, able to get into the end zone, extends the lead even more, 21-7 now. And then here in the late third quarter, the pass up the middle to Michael Thomas, breaks a tackle, and he is gone. That was a big play for the Buckeyes as they tried to mount a comeback on the Virginia Tech team. Here, Brewer is looking, gets hit, and he fumbles. Ohio State's defense able to come up with a turnover, giving their team a chance to tie the game up. Here they come back, and the handoff goes to Ezekiel Elliott, the pitch, and he is able to break a couple of tackles, get to the corner, and score, tying the game up 21-21. And then here in the fourth quarter, the answer from Michael Brewer to the end zone to Bucky Hodges, catches the touchdown, and puts his team up 28-21. Ohio State was driving, looked like they were going to come back here on a big 3rd and 16. The pass easily picked off there from the Virginia Tech defense, and he returns it all the way, sealing the game with 48 seconds left. You know, Ohio State had a chance to come back. They had a nice drive going there, forced to a big 3rd and 16 because of some penalties, and then that big interception thrown by the quarterback. What do you think Virginia Tech did to win this game?
Well, Virginia Tech played very well, but really Ohio State I think they lost this game, even though Virginia Tech played very well offensively, defensively, especially there at the pick six at the end. Ohio State, that offense was just terrible, and the defense was just killing. Virginia Tech, great defense, got to give it to them. They were just killing them with many forced turnovers. But Ohio State's offensive line was really letting Virginia Tech get to the quarterback, which, especially with that rookie quarterback, after their starter went out, you can't let that happen with that offensive line. Ohio State hadn't lost a game in Ohio State. For 62 games. They had won for 62 games, so that's a neat fact. But a tough way to lose the second game of the season to an unranked opponent, especially in their home crowd.
Yeah, tough loss. And Virginia Tech, after that win, got bumped up to number 17 on the top 25 list. Now some big games that are going on this weekend. UM is going to play against Arkansas State at home. UF is going to play against Kentucky. That's going to be a nice game there, but I think the Gators are going to take that one. And then the biggest game probably, FSU's taking Clemson on at home. That's going to be a big game and a big test for the national champs. What do you think FSU has to do to try to win that game?
Well, Jameis has to play a great game, better than he did against Oklahoma State, because the Citadel game really was just a game to boost their confidence up, an easy game. But he has to play a little bit better. If you look at the stats, Jameis played very, very good offensively. But if you're really watching the game, he didn't look as good as he did before, the real Jameis. If we see this real Jameis, we should see a victory. And Clemson, after that Georgia beatdown, they don't look the same as they did last year. So it shouldn't be that hard for FSU, but certainly a test in Tallahassee. Well, with some insight on the MLB and that race for the wild card, here we have Carlos Cristobal on more on the story.
Thanks, Nick. The MLB playoff picture is heating up as we come down the home stretch of the 2014 season. Let's take a look at the standings. In the AL, the Baltimore Orioles are in control of the AL East with no signs of slowing down. The Anaheim Angels maintain the lead in the AL West while they fight off the dangerous Oakland Athletics. The wild card race is no short of exciting as the A's reign supreme as they hold the top spot. The Tigers and Royals both share the top spot in the Central Division and are tied for the second spot in the wild card. Teams behind are the Mariners, who are half game back, the Blue Jays, who are 4.5 games back, and the Indians, who are 5 games back. The NL picture looks like this. The Nationals are dominating in the NL East as they just can't seem to lose. The Cardinals hold the top spot in the Central, holding a comforting lead over the Pirates and the Brewers. The Dodgers sit atop the West, but they can't slow down because the Giants are right on their tail. Here's what the NL wildcard race looks like. The Giants hold the top spot while the Buccos have the second spot. But not too far behind them are the Braves at 1.5 games back, the Brewers at 1.5 games back, and our own hometown Miami Marlins sit at 3.5 games back. That's all for the MLB report. Now back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Carlos. Well, in a different game, in the USA FIBA World Cup game, USA played Slovenia yesterday in the quarterfinal game. A pretty good challenge for them. Here, Coach K ready for this one. He knew Slovenia was pretty good. coming into the second half, the USA first half, nothing was really falling for them. Slovenia was playing very well, but the USA in the first quarter exploded, getting an 11-point lead at the beginning. Here now, a great save finds Stephen Curry for a layup there, fast break. They get the lead to 11 after this timeout from Slovenia. Now, the USA looked pretty good. Looked like they were going to start cruising here towards the end. Stephen Curry had a great game. Klay Thompson especially leading scores with 20 points. Jump shot there, knocks it down. Kyrie Irving coming off that back injury. Looked pretty good. Coach K pretty confident with his team. Another steal now, comes down court. Derrick Rose passes it back. Slam dunk. Team USA cruises in the second half, winning this game by a big margin. They win this game 119-76. Great game for Team USA. Great way to move on to the semifinals. Getting a confidence booster because the USA knew coming into this game Slovenia was going to be looking good, and they played great that first half, but they fell apart that second half. What do you think propelled the USA to beat Slovenia?
You know, Slovenia led by the Suns point guard Goran Dragic. He needed to have a big game for Slovenia to even have a chance against the USA team. But, you know, it wasn't enough for him to play well. Also, I think the double-doubles from Kenneth Faried and Anthony Davis really propelled this USA team. Those two guys have really been playing really well, and I think that they are some of the biggest contributions to this team. Kenneth Faried on and off the ball skills has just really been impressive, and yeah, I think the USA are gonna win it all this year again, and I think they're gonna play well in the semifinal again and win that.
Yeah, the USA looks very strong going into that semifinal and to the final. Tomorrow the semifinal game is at 3 p.m. Look forward to that game. It's going to be a good one. Now to some news, some games coming up this weekend. The cross-country team tomorrow on Thursday in Pinecrest, in the Pinecrest Invitational and Mills Pond. They'll be running in that race. And then on Friday, the Belen will be taking on Pembroke Pines Charter in a nice matchup there at 4 p.m. here in Belen. What do you think the Wolverines will have to do to get that victory?
You know, I think the Wolverines are gonna just have to play the same as they did against Columbus. You know, they were the big underdogs in that game. They really came out and they impressed everybody. If they play the same way they played against Columbus, I think they'll win this game. You know, they lost some key defensive players. Danny Portuono's still gonna be out. EJ Santos is still gonna be out. But, you know, I think that they can play through that. They have some good defensive players coming off the bench. I think they can play through that, and they can beat this team. On the offensive side, keep running the ball. You know, that outside run game really worked against Columbus. I think if we keep doing that and having Danny Hernandez roll out of the pocket and hit the wide receivers, I think we'll win this game.
Yeah, the Wolverines should look good. They just got to be mindful of hydrating before the game, a lot of cramping up. During that Columbus game, especially Gio Menacall, a big factor on defense, and Brendan Silvestri, who couldn't play the second half of that Columbus game because of cramping. Well, that's all from us here in the Sports Reel. I'm Nicolas Roca.
And I'm Alejandro Guerrero.
Have a good evening, and tune in next week for the Sports Reel.